Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's High Value Publishing session. My name is Eric Shanfelt. I'm the founder of Nearview Media, and I'm really excited about this week's session because I've got a good friend of mine, Ryan Dohrn. We're going to be talking about the 5 biggest mistakes that reps make when selling digital advertising. I am actually very jazzed about this because I know, Ryan, we've both seen a lot of this stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes, you bet.
We've seen a lot. So we're here to try to help you guys recognize and overcome these mistakes and make you more effective at selling digital ads. Do a couple quick things here first, just for some housekeeping. Go to highvaluepublishing.com. You'll find all of these sessions out there, all the past ones and this one as well. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter. We'll let you know when the next session comes out. And all links that we talk about here, including some links to some things from Ryan, will be available with every single session that we do on the website. These sessions are also available as a podcast on Apple, Google, or whatever your favorite podcasting platform is. So go out there and sign up for those as well. But before we go any further, I want to introduce Ryan Dohrn, very good friend of mine I've known for, golly, Ryan, it's got to be decades now, right?
Don't even go there. Don't even go there, my friend.
Don't even go there. So Ryan, as with me, we've both been involved in media for over 30 years. Ryan specifically in the sales and marketing side. Ryan also is now the owner of the Niche Media Events, which if you haven't been to one of those, we will definitely put the link in the description here. Go check those out. My favorite media conferences every year. He also owns Brainswell Media, which is ad sales training, and that's really your bread and butter, Ryan, isn't it?
It is. Yep. It's a coaching and training with media companies, large and small, all around the country.
Yeah. So he's actually trained like over 30,000 ad sales reps in 7 different countries all over the globe. And he's also, I did not know this, Ryan, and an Emmy Award winners and an author. So tell me about the Emmy Award here.
So, I thought I carried that around with me at the events and set it on the table so everybody could see it. No, early on in my media career, WLS, ABC Television in Chicago, and had a unique opportunity to win an Emmy Award for sales and marketing for programming that we were creating in Chicago. And so it's really something really proud to have that I have on the mantle and something really fun to talk about as well. Great. So thanks for mentioning it.
And you can tell that we both, so Ryan and I both have a face for radio, and we both have our wonderful little podcast mics here going on too.
Yeah.
But hey, let's just dive in, Ryan. Let's start talking about the 5 biggest mistakes when selling digital ads. I'm gonna let you kick off with one that you just kind of suggested I thought was absolutely brilliant. So why don't you kick off with this one?
Well, a lot of times reps will get excited about programmatic or digital products. And they're so excited about it, they just want to get out there and just start pitching it, which in and of itself could potentially be a problem. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit later. But every product is not necessarily designed for every single business owner or company. And so there may be some circumstances where e-newsletters work out better for a particular client. Or there might be some circumstances where website retargeting or remarketing would work better. And so what we really need to do is make sure that we're using 2 kind of things here. One is to make sure that we're doing some good customer needs assessments, which really help us identify what somebody needs to do. That's the customer needs assessment. And then the other piece is use past scenarios of success with other businesses to drive the next sale forward. So a lot of it is, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? What can we do to be of help to you? That kind of thing. But just because one person in another category did something, it's not necessarily the case that's going to work here. We need to use our past successes to build good case studies and scenarios for others to be successful. But don't just assume that any newsletter is for everybody or social media is just for everybody. It's just really not the case. So one of the biggest mistakes, wrong products for the wrong client. And I think it's something we can figure out.
Yeah, so you kind of touched on that a little bit with the assessment. That is my biggest question here would be, how does a rep know what products a client needs? I mean, I've got this smorgasbord of products from print and events and email and programmatic and website. How do I really identify, in a nutshell, what products are going to be right for which clients?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'd like to do is to tell people the questions not to ask. So asking somebody their budget doesn't guide you to the product choice. Now, you could say, well, if I ask them their budget and they can't afford a certain product, well, that's really not the case. If you ask somebody their budget, you're living in their reality of what they think it takes to be successful from a marketing perspective. And that's really not a good way to sell. And instead, it's better to say, just as an example, a generic example, hi, Bonnie, we've worked with other jewelers before. We know these 3 digital options work really, really well for, John Jones jewelry. So this is why we would be recommending these things to you, because now you may not have a past example to use, but that's a better direction to go. But also to figure out, do you want more website traffic? Do you want more social traffic? Do you want to get more people to your YouTube channel? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish with this digital campaign? And don't let them get away, Eric, with just saying, well, we need more customers. We just need more leads. But what does that mean? What type of lead? Where do you want the lead to come from? What's the age of the lead? That kind of thing. So we just don't want to let them get away with just picking things just to pick them. We want to make sure we have the right product for the right client for the right reason.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail there on the head. It is definitely finding out what is the marketing objective. Because once you know what the marketing objective is, you can better tailor what it is you have to sell to them. And you've also got to know, we'll get into this here in a little bit, you got to know which of your products best fit certain marketing objectives and needs and be able to do that.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. All right. So the second one here, this was mine, was just too much stuff to sell. I'm sure you've seen this, Ryan, but I just worked with a publisher the other day where I looked at their digital media kit, and it was like 30 different products, right?
All the
Every
time.
kind of social and programmatic and video and email and web thing possible, and directory listings and sponsored content, so many different things to sell. I know that when I work with, look, you've only got, as a rep, you're lucky if you've got 5 minutes to talk with someone about your particular products. Maybe you got a little bit longer time, but you're lucky if you got 5 minutes.
Right.
You need to be able to have a very defined set of products that are going to work really well. Now, maybe you have some other things in your back pocket, but you're going to say, hey, look, these are some of the basic things that we have that can meet your marketing objectives. To me, this has to come after your point of knowing what my client is trying to accomplish. And then you say, okay, well, these are the kinds of things that could fit. My rule of thumb is that if you got a product that isn't selling out at least 80%, you probably ought to look at cutting it. Yep. Ought to look at cutting it. And if you're selling it out, or let's say 70%, if you're selling it out at like 90% or more of the percent of the time, you should be cranking up your rates.
Exactly.
And focus more of your effort on fewer products that deliver greater value, and you'll be able to actually wind up making more money. I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you, because there is this media buffet concept of selling that, quite honestly, is there's no empirical data, friends, that media buffet selling works. Here's our buffet, belly up to the buffet. What do you want? Well, the problem is if you offer the idea of what do you want, you're giving people what they want, which sounds good, Eric. However, we have a responsibility as media marketing advisors to advise people on what they need to do. If you give them what they want, you're going to have a happy client for a short period of time. If you guide them towards what they need to do, then you have clients for a lifetime. You have clients that will come back to you over and over again. So this idea of I've got 50 products, pick what you want, is like a buffet. What I would rather see people do is have a white tablecloth experience. You go in and this is what the chef would recommend, a smaller menu. I mean, think about it. The highest end restaurants, you pay the biggest amount of money for a limited choice. A high end restaurant has like one page to their menu. The lowest of the low is going to be, like a buffet where you pay $19 and you got 95 choices. You don't want to be Golden Corral in the media business, right? There's nothing wrong with Golden Corral. You just don't want to be doing that approach in the media sales space.
Right. And I'll throw one little piece of too much stuff to sell. Once you've narrowed down the number of products that you want to put out into the market, it's also controlling the inventory, controlling the supply and demand, right? I hate when I see publishers go out there and we have 1 million ad impressions. Want to buy a few? Instead of, nope, we only have 8 companies who are going to be able to get 100,000 ad impressions each. That's it. There's just eight opportunities. It's still the same amount of impressions, but you've packaged it differently. You've controlled the supply and demand. You've made it feel like if they don't buy in, they're going to miss out. So that's another angle to the too much stuff to sell piece.
Agreed.
All right. This one was you faking it.
It makes me crazy that people have the time, effort, and ability to be able to understand products, and yet they don't. And what they do is a lot of times they just go out there and just fake it. You can't fake it till you feel it as relates to digital media or media sales in general. Now, if you're having a bad day, you can fake it till you feel it. But there's too much information out there. People know too much for media reps in today's environment, Eric, to be faking it. You can't fake it because now you may be like me that, if you're in your late 40s, early 50s, you feel like in the past you've been able to fake it. You can't fake it with digital. You can't just show up and expect the conversation is going to go well. Now, I'm not saying that you need to know every intimate detail of how every DSP, ESP, et cetera works. You don't need all those details. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But you definitely can't go in and fake it. You need to come with good case studies of past success, know your stuff inside and out. And a very important side note to all of our veteran sellers out there that have been selling for a long time, there is nothing cooler than a sales rep that's older, a little long in the tooth, that's been selling for a long time, and they know digital inside and out. Eric, it's cool to me to see a veteran seller that can sell digital as good or better than you or me. And I'm like, wow, it makes you look really good. Now, the youngest amongst us, they kind of expect that you're going to know how it works, right? So it's not that big of a surprise. But our veteran reps, when they know it, it's so cool. I just think it's so impressive.
Although you'd be surprised, I talked to some younger reps as well, who, while they may kind of know social networks, they may know some of that kind of stuff, they don't really understand like the concepts of branding versus direct response. What creative makes those kinds of things, the kind of things that the media vets may know. I think you nailed your key here. If I were to recap, is look, you need to know the fundamentals of every product that you offer. You don't need to know all the inner mechanisms of it, but you got to know, hey, I'm going to ask you to pay X dollars, and for the X dollars, this is what you're going to get, and here's the basics of how it's going to work, and here's how it's going to benefit you.
Yep, exactly.
You know that. You can go back to your operations team or your ad sales support team or your sales engineer, and you can get more technical details and interact with that.
Right. Agreed.
So I'll throw that onto the faking it as well. You at least got to be conversant.
Agreed. I equate it, and I give a lot of restaurant examples. I'm kind of a foodie. I give a lot of examples like that. A good server is not going to give you all the details of exactly what the chef's going to do, but they're going to say, this particular, meat has got this type of seasoning. It's going to have a béarnaise sauce. It's going to have this, going to have this. And if a patron said to them, hey, well, how many minutes per side do they cook that on? What type of wood? Well, maybe you need to know the type of wood, but you don't need to know the timing of how it's cooked exactly. Well, how much seasoning are they going to put on it? Well, you wouldn't know that, and it's okay. So you can be a great server and a great recommender of products, a great salesperson, without having to know exactly how long that meat's going to be cooked on the grill.
That's a great example, Ryan. Great example. I'm a foodie too, so there you go. All right, let's talk value add. This is another big mistake that we see sales reps make. You want to make that sale. You want to make the advertiser feel special. You want to give them something. You want to try to add something to what they're adding, and so you value add something. Now, I typically will see people value adding digital to try to sell something print. Typically. Right. Now, I always ask the publisher, hey, would you ever value add print to sell a digital package? Never. Right. Or my rule of thumb is that when you tell an advertiser that this is a value add product, you're basically telling them this product has no value. Right. Value add equals no value in the mind of an advertiser. I would much rather see a rep put together a package, right? A package where everything has a value in that package. And I'm going to give you kind of an overall package discount because you're spending so much with me or you're investing so much with me. Now you can even get more formal with that, and you can create different spending levels and different kind of discount partnership levels with that. But at a minimum, don't ever value add anything because you just completely undermine the value of it. Curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, agreed. And do we not learn anything from already doing this 10 years ago with banner ads. I mean, there's a reason that our margins on banner ads are still good, but they're ridiculously low because we used them as a way to sell more print. We gave away digital. Now what we're seeing is some of the bigger print operators, publishers out there, that when you buy a certain amount of digital, you get some print for free. They're like flipping the free model. So let's just stop the free game. Let's go back to the base value of this. I'm talking with an advertiser and you think they need things for free. But if you said to your advertiser, what do you give your customers for free? They'd say nothing. So why do we feel as media companies that we need to be giving all these things away for free? The essence of value add is that it adds value. It doesn't say value add equals zero. And so you've got to position it as the value that comes from it. So my thought would be, it would be a value add line item on the proposal or package, as you said, as you shared, and say it's $1,200. That's the value that you're getting. Put that in. Now, you might subtract it out at the bottom as a VIP discount. To your point, you bought all this stuff, so we're going to give you $500 off. But definitely don't put that line item, especially like of a programmatic ad or something like that, for free. Give it a value and then discount it out at the bottom, because it just allows you to then, at least they see that there's a value to it. I'm subtracting it down here, but I'm not giving it away for free. And I think that's the best way to couch it.
I think it also shows that you believe in the value of your products.
I like that.
If I'm going to give you 100,000 programmatic display ads to go along with what you bought here, that has value. I mean, you're remarketing on programmatic network to my audience. These are the right people. These are the right buyers. If I'm going to do this directory listing, it has a value. And if I put it down for zero, I'm saying basically, I don't believe in the value of this, that it has any value for you either.
Yeah,
so I
agreed.
totally agree with you on that. Tell me about giving too many details to your customers.
So this one time, this one advertiser in this one circumstance needed all the details. And so now you think, as a salesperson or a media advisor, I like to call them now, you feel like you have to give everybody all the details. And this is how the example that I like to give. Imagine if you're at a ball game at a major league ballpark, and the hot dog vendor comes around and says, hot dogs. And you're like, yes, give me a hot dog and a cold beer. And like, sure. But before I give you this hot dog, sir, may I tell you what's inside of it? And you're like, okay. So all of a sudden he tells you what the hot dog is made of. And you're like, I'm good. I think
I don't want to know I don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Or another example that I hope people will remember, like when I go to buy, I happen to be a watch guy. I like to collect watches. I don't know how to build a watch. I don't care to know how to build a watch necessarily, but I don't need to know how to build a watch in order to enjoy a watch or use a watch every single day. It's not important. So to the very first point that we made about faking it, I think, or the second point about faking it, I don't want you to fake it, but I don't want you to give so many details that it kills the deal, because sometimes people feel like I need to know how everything works. And you don't have to know as an advertiser how everything works. You just really want to know how to tell time. I don't want to know how the clock is built or how to make a clock. I just want to be able to tell time with the clock. So, and we don't have a lot of time to necessarily get into all the details, but what are the details that people may need? Well, I think that they may need to know kind of expected results, what we think might potentially work. I think expectations is pretty important. And then the basics of how it works. So when I'm selling, for example, website retargeting, for example, all I want to do is I don't want to get into the programmatic or maybe even call it that. Instead, I'd say, Eric, have you ever searched for something online? And then for the next 30 days, or go to a website, and then for the next 30 days, you see ads for that product online. And you're like, yeah, of course. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm trying to get you to buy into. And I feel like a lot of real world examples and success stories and things like that will always go better than giving all these data details and dragging. I like to call it, don't drag them into the weeds unless they're in the water drowning and you need to get them out of the weeds. Don't drag them down with you.
Oh, you hit something real powerful there, Ryan. Stories are powerful.
Indeed.
Stories are powerful. Let me tell you about this customer and what they did and how it helped, how it benefited them. So
correct.
Too many details here. You said, what do they really need to know? Here's what I think they really need to know. If I'm an advertiser, I want to know, what am I going to get for what I spend?
Exactly. How much is it?
Right.
And what am I getting?
How much does it cost? What am I going to get?
Yep.
How many people is it going to reach? And how is it going to benefit me?
Agreed.
If you can answer those basic fundamental questions, I think you got the details. And I think it's also okay that if they ask you a very detailed question about it, when you do programmatic display advertising, are you doing day parting? And can I, what kind of, what's your anti-spam protection on that? It's okay as a rep to say, you know what? I don't know the exact details on it. All I know is it's been really successful. So let me talk with our ad ops people and let me get back to you and I'll give you a definitive answer. It's okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I sometimes will say, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes what I'll say instead of I don't know is I'll say, they don't give me the keys to that part of the kingdom. Maybe one day they will, but I can tell you that this has been working very, very well. You could say, that's a little bit above my pay grade because that's an IT kind of question. All I know, just like you said, all I know is that this is working for Bob the Builder. It's working for Julie's Interior Design or whatever.
Exactly.
It's because a lot of times the details will get people frustrated. Another example real quick is when you start talking about creative before you've got a deal done. Well, you got to be careful about that because now all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I got to be thinking about creative. And then all of a sudden they're not buying because they're worried they can't come up with the right creative. Yeah.
Yeah. It scares them off. Don't get into too many details. I think about the old Simpsons thing. Close the deal, Gil.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about not closing the loop. This is one of my little pet peeves. Mm-hmm. So I have something like, I've actually got a real interesting, you'd love this. You're talking about ultra niche. Mm-hmm. We've got 30,000 people and here's Windsor City Lifestyle magazine for the 30,000 person town.
Wow. Cool.
But one of the things when we bought print, I can see when I buy print and I look at it, I can see my ad in here, right? So I can see that my ad got into this publication and even if I don't get a phone call or that, at least I've got the satisfaction of knowing that my money bought something.
Right.
Okay. When we start talking about digital, we talk about web advertising or co-branded social media advertising or programmatic display, or even in some cases, email advertising with this. Because it all happening in a digital medium, when your ad run is done, it's done and it goes away. And you don't know as an advertiser, whether you got anything for your money.
Right.
So I always am telling ad ops and sales reps, you must close the loop. When whatever the digital program is done, you need to go back to the advertiser. You need to give them the data, not too much data, right? I'm just saying, hey, what were the KPIs in the case of like a web ad? How many impressions? How many times was your ad seen? Impressions? How many people clicked? Clicks. And you've got to tell them it good, bad, or ugly.
Correct.
You've got to close the loop on it. Otherwise, as far as they know, their money just got flushed down the toilet.
Agreed.
So you've got to give them that money back. And even if it's a quote unquote bad number, like a click-through rate is like 0.02, this is an opportunity to go back to them and say, hey, your ad got in front of 50,000 electronic engineers here. Yep. And you only got 4 clicks. But you know what? That's okay because you gave us a branding ad. Next time, if you want to do that, have a really strong call to action, a really good incentive, and you'll see a lot more clicks.
Great.
It's a good opportunity to kind of close that loop, reset the expectations, and set up for the next sale. What do you think?
Yeah, I really also like marketing impact reports. So at the end of every quarter or season or whatever, when I'm trying to do my renewal, a marketing impact report really, really helps. Now, one of the things you might consider, Eric, and I hope that this is a takeaway for you as well, I like to ask a client, especially when we're talking about traffic to a website or leads that are being filled out for a form, what is that lead worth to you? As we're calculating this, what is that lead worth to you? And they say, all right, so every time we get a lead submitted from our website, it's worth, say, $100, just to make it easy. Well, on the marketing impact report, if I've sent 5, I want to do in the spreadsheet then 100 times 5. So the total value to you is $500. So if I can get them to tell me hey, someone comes to your website, what is that worth to you? It's worth $50. Okay, great. We sent 75 people times 50. Here's the number. So in our marketing impact reports, I also then want to show the ROI on it. And I do that by asking them, what's that worth to you? And then we go in. The other data point, not characteristic, data point that I really want to figure out on the report is how much better is their report than the national average. So let's just say they got a 0.002 and they're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Well, yeah, but the 0.002 in your category is 10 times the national average. And oh my gosh, I had no idea because they just don't know what the national average is. Now, the other thing you can do, and I'm sorry, I'm running a little long on this one. I just love it.
It's okay.
It's a great one. Is to also ask compared to others. So if you've got a situation where you've got an advertiser that's got a bad report, but compared to others in their category, it's 10% better, then you've got another column that is compared to others in your category, compared to the national average, and then you've got your total value that you've asked them about. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a report that looked bad. It actually looks pretty good. And that's the way that I kind of spin it for them. I hope that makes sense.
It does. This would be a little interesting. I'm going to do a counterpoint to that, though. This might be an interesting discussion for us to dive into at some point.
Yeah.
I actually, when it comes to things like click-through rates, for example, which is like probably the simplest one to dive into, people are going to go, oh, you got a 0.05 click-through rate. My little pet peeve, and I'll also see this with agencies. Agencies will send out spreadsheets, and they want to know what's your CPM, what's your CPC, because they want to boil you down to a commodity. Whenever I give back to an advertiser, or whenever I'm filling out a spreadsheet for an agency and they ask for the click-through rate, I will give them, like if I'm reporting back to an advertiser, I'll tell them the click-through rate. But I'm not going to say this was 100 times better than the industry average or 10 times better than the industry average or whatever. I'm going to say, look, we see click-through rates on our site from this range. We've seen click-through rates as low as 0.02%. We've seen click-through rates as high as 1.95%. The difference being what the advertiser's message was and whether they executed on direct response tactics or not.
Yep.
Right. So I try to put the onus back into the advertiser's ballpark to say, hey, look, your message and your creative execution has as much or more to do with the click-through rate than our site and our placement. So it might be fun to talk about that sometime down the road.
No, agreed. Yep. I like it.
Okay. Tell us about selling magic versus selling marketing.
Well, it's a really great segue from what we just talked about. And that is that I truly believe that most advertisers think they're buying something magical. And I wish they were, because my life would be so much easier, as a person that has to sell media options every single day. So I'd like to say to folks, especially if I hear them talking about things, Eric, that are so big that I'm like, wait a minute, you are trying to literally sell in the way that they would sell a Ginsu knife or a Thigh Master or something. You're trying to sell a direct response product, and you're selling sofas or you're selling MRI machines, right? So I had a client that was trying to sell a $20 some odd million MRI machine, and they were trying to use strategies that George Foreman would use for his little fancy grill that he sells. So there's really nothing really magical per se about marketing, as much as there is a lot of predictability and a lot of scenarios. And I think a lot of times people are trying to buy magic instead of marketing, and they spend $50 and expect 50,000 in return. Marketing's not magic. I mean, they share the letters M and A and, well, I guess G and I. They share a lot of letters, but marketing really is not magical. It is highly predictable, though. We know based on past scenarios, other people we've worked with, what, to your point just a second ago, what we probably would expect somewhere between this and this. I can't promise you any result other than this is what we've seen in the past. And if your call to action's clear, your campaign is colorful, it's on the right sites or whatever, this is what we could kind of expect. So I believe that a lot of reps are trying to sell something magical, and you just can't do that because there's no pixie dust at the end of this. It's kind of one of those it is what it is scenarios. Now, some campaigns work better than others, but a lot of it, I say this all the time, the more you market, the luckier you will get. Those that put a lot into the market are going to usually get a lot out of the market. But if you run small campaigns for small amounts, you don't give yourself a chance to be lucky and get some good breaks. You have predictable results. It's kind of like a good football team. The more passes you throw, typically the luckier you're going to get. The more golf you play, typically the luckier you're going to get. And you need a little bit of luck out there today to get these things done. So don't sell magic, sell predictable marketing. We've been doing this long enough now, Eric, to know what works and what doesn't work. And definitely don't sell them something they don't need.
No, don't sell them something they don't need. And there is no silver bullet solution here. Sometime we'll have to do another session here, Ryan, because I've got like tons of questions as you and I've been talking about writing down here. Especially talk about part of the magic versus marketing, I think, is the whole idea of, leads being the crack cocaine of today's marketer, right? I want leads. And
what are you going to do with those leads?
Yeah, well, what are you going to do with the leads? Number one, I cannot tell you, I'm sure you've seen this, how many advertisers I've worked with where they'll get, the publisher will give them 200, 300 leads and they don't do anything with those leads.
Right. Yeah.
It's amazing. But anyway, I just think that, I think what you said here was the key. It's saying, hey, look, there's no silver bullet here. You've just got to execute good marketing tactics. And I think that's what we've talked about throughout this whole presentation.
Yeah.
You've got to execute on good marketing tactics. I know that in the B2B markets, for example, branding is very critical, because it was a great study that came out a couple of years ago. It said that 95% of B2B marketers, when they come about B2B companies, when it comes time to source a supplier, they already have a short list of 3 suppliers in mind. If you haven't been branding during those few years before when they're trying to do it, you're going to have you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out.
Yeah. I say to advertisers regularly, my goal is simple: to put your name, your brand, your business in front of people in so many different ways, so many different times, that when they have a need for your product or service, they're going to Google you first. They're going to think of you first. They're going to search for you first. And it goes back to the good old days of when we first started in this business, TOMA, top of mind awareness. The human brain is super complex, and it's the best computer that's, ever been made. The more times you put your brand, your product and service in front of people, the more likely it is they're going to recall you when they have a need. The scary part is, Vorsight Consulting does a bunch of work on this, is that, 5 to 7% of people are ready to do something right now. That's it. Yet most advertisers think 95% of people are ready to buy right now. The number is exactly opposite. It's more like 5 to 7%. And Steve Richards does a lot of research on that online if people want to pull it up. If we don't get clear on this, though, Eric, you know this, if we don't get clear on this, then a lot of times what we're selling is a magic bean, and there is no silver bullet. There is no magic bean to marketing. If you're going to be successful, you just got to put a lot out there into the advertising ecosystem and cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah. Well, I think as we've been talking, Ryan, there's probably a lot more than 7 mistakes.
Yeah.
And we may have to do another session on this, because I think this was a lot of fun. I think there's a lot more that we could dive into here. But I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today. Always fun chatting with you here. And even if we don't always agree on the finer details, I think you and I are 100% in alignment on the big picture here.
If we always agreed, it'd be really boring, right? It'd be super boring.
Right, exactly.
But I would say we agree. I do think we agree on the important things. That's what's important.
Good. And hey, for all you watching this, I really highly encourage you. I'll put Ryan's link in the description on here. If you have any questions or you need any help with your sales staff, getting them trained up on sales of any products that you have with that, seriously, Ryan is the absolute best in the biz. So I'll put his link down there. Don't hesitate to reach out to him. Yeah, Ryan, thanks so much for joining me today, my friend. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Talk to you soon.